Welcome back. This is the Old Heads. I'm King Bear Sadat here with Theodore Kirkland, author of Spirit and Soul, The Odyssey of a Black Man in America, volumes 1 and 2. One of the things that I hope for is that this show actually gets to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and ultimately, eventually,
I want to see you get rich.
Rich would be nice, but I really want to be able to make a difference and talk about things that people aren't talking about. I want to make a difference more than I want to be rich, but being rich would be nice too. But what I was going to say is that it'd be nice to have enough money to be able to have the production team keep the cameras rolling, keep things going, so we get the show in between the shows.
Well, all you got to do is go get a hold of some of these football players and tell them to sponsor you.
That's right.
That you want to build a show and they get the percentage and we share it.
Yeah, maybe I'll start working on that. But I want to talk about what I was saying is I want to go back to talk about some of the things we were talking about when we were in break. And we were talking about why is it that black people who have been in America for hundreds of years, longer than many, many people who've been in this country, and even some of the people who have just gotten this country the last 15, 20 years, why are they all doing better than us? And we've been making nothing but excuses for ourselves. And you had asked me, what's the difference? And I was like, basically unity, and the fact that they haven't allowed what's important to them, their culture, their history, the things that they think is important to and to share with their children, that they make sure that they don't lose any of that stuff, whether it be, traditions that some of the things I've seen in life, whether it's, some of the religious traditions or, some of the people who are Indian and they have their whole tradition regarding marriage and how they marry one another and the wedding ceremonies, all these different traditions. But you said in response, that's nothing but excuses. What's keeping us from doing what we're supposed to be doing? Just want to have you get back into talking about that.
So you it's the key issue. That is the key issue. Our failure is the key issue in this country. Why is it that? And at the same time, we're being given photos of success. Obama was a photo, and it makes us happy. Mayor Brown is a photo. It makes us happy. It's a picture of what. And so we become happy, but we confuse a couple of things. One is we confuse titles with power. And in this society, you have to talk about power. We don't have the power as a race of people to put fear in the heads of the district attorney for ignoring this 12-year-old kid. You understand what I'm talking about? Anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you can go to Challenge or the Criteria and ask them to give you a copy of the newspapers.
There's a kid who was shot.
Yeah. We don't have the power to get people to do certain things. Power it has to be the ability to make people do things. Titles don't do that. Titles are just images, and we mistake titles. We got for instance, we have the head of the well, not the head, but the spokesperson for the council is prison.
Right.
That's not power. It's being the spokesperson, okay, for the white members of the council plus the black members, but at the expense of his own community being ignored. The same thing's happening in the county legislature. This young lady got the title before she even started the first day on the job, and in her mind that was beneficial to her and rightfully so, I guess. But it doesn't represent power. See, power. If we had power, we wouldn't even have to have the titles.
Well, it's interesting you talk about power because, I'd heard somebody say a while back that true power is being able to tell your own truth and have other people accept it as so. And one of the things I always found very interesting is that, when you grow up in high school in America, you go through different stages of history. And around sophomore, you start learning world history. And really it's what ends up being covering of World War I and World War II. And when you're in school, then you're taught to believe that what the atrocities that happened with Hitler and the Jewish people and everybody else Hitler killed, and 2 million Russians died. I want to get into this. The 2 million Russians died in the war, that 7, 8, 9 million Jewish people were killed, and I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just trying to make a point. All these different millions of people were killed. You were taught at that time that it was the worst atrocity ever seen by humanity. Meanwhile, you look at the Middle Passage, the trip between Africa and the Americas, millions and millions, maybe 100 million black folks died, which seems like an astronomical, maybe it's even more than that, but it seems like an astrological number. But when you think that for 400 years there were ships going back and forth from Africa to America, and it was illegal at some point. So in order to keep the slave trade going, when you see those images of all the black people chained up, if the people were going to come and check your ship to see if it was that what you were doing was trade slaves, they throw an anchor overboard, and all the black folks just go into the sea. But just the idea of power and talking about the ability of telling things, of having respect wherein that there's any fear of any policing. So the whole idea of the Black Lives Matter movement is the whole thing that Black lives don't matter because we have no power for people to even give a damn about us. I mean, I know I went long-winded on it, but I know this whole movement about Black Lives Matter, and it's
we shouldn't have to have a black. If you had power,
Black
Lives Matter would not be necessary.
Right.
You see what I'm coming from, and which I support them at this. I support them because it's like when the Panthers were out there, I supported the Panthers too. So organizations pop up. I supported NAACP at one point until I got smart, but. But let me just talk a little bit about power. We are a large group in Buffalo, and yet we didn't have enough power for them to fear not representing us on that project of the medical corridor. See, you got a power enough where they would, when you talk about the guy putting his hand in your face, if he had power, he wouldn't dare do that because he'd be afraid to do that. You see the difference between that and power? But when you don't have power, people can do almost anything they want to do to you. I was a cop, so I thought I had some power. I could do things. I did things I thought that was right. And I was respected for that. Whether you liked it or not, I was respected for it. I'm not talking about you personally, but I'm talking about the police department. Same thing on the parole board. So they had the parole board had to get rid of me because I wasn't the kind of person they wanted there. Power. If you're going to play politics, you must play power. And I'm not talking about just be hard on your people, but you have to be in a position where the district attorney, for example, would have enough respect for you that he would not ignore when a 12-year-old kid is shot by a white man in Buffalo, New York. That's power. We didn't even have enough power for people to rally against it. Do you understand? For blacks themselves to come out and say anything about it. No power. Fear maybe, but no power. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. And after a while, if you have power, it will work automatically to you. The mere fact of people seeing you, power would pop in their mind, that person has power. Where do you think most of the money is made in the police department? When the policemen get paid for going to court, where do you think most of the money is made?
No idea.
Black community. In the black community. That's that they lock up more people in the black community and they make more money by locking them up. That's a fact of life. Rarely ever talked about, but that's where the money is. The money is in the black community. Illegal activity is in the black community.
So you're saying that not only does that bring money in the policing and the money they get paid for doing the policing, but also in the prison industrial complex, and it also
in the school system. I talked to you a little while back. That by me being in there and having a rapport with the kids, it was fearful to them because I would stop the flow of money there. Everybody makes money off the black community.
Except for the black community.
Except there's some slicksters in there that may make a few dollars, sure. But this is the way the system operates. We're off on a trip looking for Jesus to do this for us.
Right.
I mean, I'm not making this up.
Right.
I mean, I talk to people, man, and they'll tell you in a minute. I give all my troubles to Jesus. That must be an overloaded cat, boy, if you got all them problems that we got. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But it's marketable with them. It's marketable. It's an easy way out. It's a cop-out. But they buy it.
Man, I want to go in on that so much. But I don't want to take a break here about here. This is The old heads. Do you have time for one more segment?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, so we'll do one more segment. But again, this is Old Heads. Here I'm King Bear Sadat with Theodore Kirkland, author of Spirit and Soul, The Odyssey of a Black Man in America, Volumes 1 and 2. We'll be back in a minute. Thank you, and we'll see you in a sec. Do we have enough room, Pops, for another one? All right, cool.